Hello everyone, it's Sunday today and I was just walking down to the studio thinking maybe you guys need something to practice, and so I'd like to show you today this really cool thing you can do with pentatonic scale, with very simple basic pentatonic scales, just major and minor. And from there derive all kinds of wonderful sounding modes. And as a matter of fact, you can use these pentatonic scales as bridges from one mode to the other. It's really cool and actually quite simple. For today's video, all you need to know is your major and minor pentatonic patterns just in one position, which of course I'll share with you with tabs. But if you want to know everything about pretty much every guitar scale out there, do make sure you check out this video up here. It's a bit long, but it really has theory, info, how to play them, it's all there. So maybe you can check that out after this video. But for today, all we need is a couple of pentatonic positions. A pentatonic scale is a scale made up of only 5 notes, which is derived from a major scale for major pentatonic and from a minor scale for minor pentatonic, from which we remove 2 notes. So let's go through that really quickly just to get things started properly. We start with the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, only natural notes. And on the guitar there are many ways to play them, but today we'll keep it simple in just one single position, and it goes like this. This is not the sound I had in mind. Wait a second. As you can see, I played all natural notes in the key of C. Now, if I want to turn this diatonic major scale into a major pentatonic scale, I'll have to remove 2 notes. Those notes are the 4th, F, and the 7th, B. This will become much more important later, but for now, let's transform the diatonic major scale into pentatonic. And we do it like this, by removing those 2 notes. Still sounds major, still sounds pretty good, but certainly it's a smaller version, a less tense version of the diatonic major scale. Now for minor, again, we're going to stay in the same position, and I will play for you now a C minor scale. This scale has 3 flats, but as long as you follow the tab or the diagram up here, you don't have to worry about that. Let's just play together. You can hear this is definitely a minor scale. Now, if we take a diatonic minor scale, which has 7 notes, we have to remove 2 of them, and these 2 will be the 2nd, D, and the 6th, A flat. We're just going to take them out, and this is the result. I'm sure a lot of you have already played this before, and this is your minor pentatonic scale in the key of C. These 2 positions are our building blocks for the rest of the video. Very well, so let's set aside the minor scale for a second and focus on the major. Now we have our major pentatonic scale, and in theory we could put back those 2 notes we just took out, which are the F and the B, or the 4th and 7th, and we'll get again our diatonic major scale, right? This is obvious, of course, but it still has something to do with the rest of the video. So if I take my basic pentatonic position like this, and I put back in those Fs and Bs, obviously I'm back in C major, but the major scale comes in different flavors. And one of the flavors besides the major scale is the Lydian scale, which is just the same as the major scale. It's just the same, but it has one tiny difference, which is that the F, the 4th note, is sharp. It's a wonderful sounding scale. It goes like this. F sharp, it's brighter than the regular major scale, but it's certainly beautiful. And there's also another flavor for a major mode, which is called Mixolydian. The Mixolydian scale is again very, very similar to the regular major scale, but now it has a flat 7, which means that the B is flat. And it sounds like this. That's my B flat. Okay, so you see I'm playing in the same spot, I'm almost playing the same thing, but one is major with only natural notes. One is Lydian, it's the same exact thing, but it has an F sharp instead of an F natural. One is Mixolydian, which is almost the same thing as major again, but it has a flat 7 or B flat. Three wonderful flavors of the major sound. Now, what does this have to do with the pentatonic scale? Well, let's look at the formula again for the major pentatonic scale. We started from a regular major scale, which has all degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We took out the 4th degree and the 7th degree to make the major pentatonic scale. Now, if you notice, the Lydian scale and the Mixolydian scale are different from major, but only in notes which are removed to create the major pentatonic, which means that from each of these three scales, major or Ionian, by the way, but we won't get into that, Lydian and Mixolydian, I could still take out the 4th and 7th and end up with the same major pentatonic, right? So if you look closely, you will find this major pentatonic position included, so to speak, in major, Lydian, Mixolydian. The basic skeleton of the major pentatonic scale you can find in all these three modes. So what does that mean? Well, that if circumstances allow, for example, if you're jamming over a single chord, for example, a single C major chord, you could come and go from each of these modes as you please. And the pentatonic scale is a great way of doing that without it sounding too obvious or in your face. If I were to go simply from major to Mixolydian and Lydian, you see it can get a bit out of hand. But if I have this major pentatonic scale as a buffer, I could maybe start on major. Now maybe move to pentatonic for a second. And now I'm a Mixolydian with a B flat, and you might have not even noticed. From here I could go back really quick to the pentatonic. And now put that F sharp in there. F natural. Right? I'll make sure to put a little drone under all this. Hopefully it will sound okay. But the idea here is that I can use the pentatonic to branch out into different modes. And even if you're not able to use this in your chord progressions, this is still an incredibly useful exercise. Go from the major scale to the pentatonic and then branch out to, in this case, Lydian and Mixolydian. Now, if we do the same thing with the minor pentatonic, it's amazingly simple, but still amazingly effective. So again, starting from a regular minor scale, take out the 2nd and the 6th, and this gives us the minor pentatonic scale. Okay, very simple. Now, of course, just like with major, there are two other minor modes, and they're called Dorian and Phrygian. And the way they're built is, for Dorian, by raising the 6th note of a minor scale, which goes like this. This is the Dorian note. The A becomes natural. It's brighter. It's it's a very interesting and beautiful sounding scale. Phrygian, which is the other mode, is built just the same as a minor scale, but the 2nd note is flat. So it's 1/2 step lower. And so in the key of C, instead of having C, D, E flat, we have C, D flat, E flat. It's a very specific sound. Like that, right? But if we go through the whole thing now, we'll find this position. I'm sure a lot of you are really hearing that sound, but still, if we look at the whole thing, at the whole formula, we find that from the minor scale, we remove the 2nd and 6th to make the minor pentatonic, but then for Dorian and for Phrygian, the only two notes that are affected by making minor into these two modes are the second for Phrygian, which is lower a half step, or the sixth for Dorian, which is raise a half step. Which again, just as we said before, means that from the minor pentatonic scale, I could put those two notes that I took out back again, and if I put in just a regular second and flat sixth, I would get minor. But if I put down the second and the major sixth, I get Dorian, and if I lower the second, then I will get Phrygian, which means that from this minor pentatonic position, I could switch from regular minor maybe go to Dorian, but maybe stick to the minor pentatonic for a second. And then Phrygian and back to minor. See, this is not probably going to sound great, but still it works. It keeps you moving within all these three different modes. And this is the idea for the whole video. So as always, if you're on my Patreon, you'll be able to download all these positions. If you're not, don't worry about it. You can take screenshots of this, write them down. Works great. You actually eventually have to memorize them. But if you do want to subscribe to my Patreon, it does help a lot. If you are not subscribed, that also helps a lot. I'm trying to hit 40,000 subs, and it would be very much appreciated if you could just hit that subscribe button, maybe a like, maybe even a bell, whatever works for you. I'm fine with it as long as you practice this. So again, very quickly, we can take diatonic major or diatonic minor scales, remove two notes from each of them to find their relative major or minor pentatonics. And then from those pentatonic scales, we notice that the notes we took out are exactly the notes that are changed when we go to the major modes, Lydian and Mixolydian, or the minor modes, Dorian and Phrygian. And therefore, those skeletons of those pentatonic scales work as passages or bridges or whatever you want to call, or buffers, whatever you're going to call them, to go from one mode to the other. Now, is this possible all the time? No, it really depends on your chord progressions. So if you have a chord progression that puts you into a specific mode, then you're probably stuck, right? But maybe you can get one or two chords that could work in another mode, but this is really beyond today's purposes. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. Even if you don't understand exactly 100%, go through all the position. It's still extremely useful. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.